Start where we are. It's lovely when we feel all those beautiful, wonderful experiences. And starting where we are is taking in everything to account. So I want to look at this a little bit differently. So we're going to start a little differently than we may normally. We're going to start from the outside in. And so let's just be present with what's happening in our globe, what we're hearing a lot about. One of the things we're hearing a lot about is climate change. And the fact, I've been reading these articles that in fact it's moving along much more quickly than we expected. And the impact of the negative impact of not taking care of our planet is impacting all of us. We can almost feel a little overwhelmed as we see all these news reports. You see the different nature organizations showing the impact on climate change on nature and how much it's impacting nature. And then we have what's happening in our own country. Somehow this past week I became more conscious of it because I was just standing so clearly that love is never at war and spirit is never at war. And yet as I became more conscious, I'm like, but our country really is, there's this war of polarity, of sides, and there's so much anger. And I would even say, I think what's making my stomach clench, and maybe it makes your stomach clench, is there seems like there's a lot of hate behind those two sides. It's a little scary. So fear comes up, sadness comes up, confusion comes up. How are we going to get out of this incredible polarity that's arising when both sides are just so clear they are right? How do we move out of this? And how do we not get affected by it? Also being present with what's happening, suicide rates in the last 10 years have really gone up on all age groups, not just one age group, all age groups are being impacted. Depression, there's an epidemic of opiate addiction. There's all these coping mechanisms that are going on that are not healthy coping mechanisms, but could they possibly be because of the sense of overwhelm of all this news that we're getting? And then we look a little bit more locally. I just read an article that Berkeley has made it illegal for people to live in their RVs because it's becoming a problem within their city. And there's upset about that because many of the people who live in RVs can't afford a home or a place to live, and so that's going to put them out on the streets, and they're going to be even more homeless population. And in fact, the homeless population in the Bay Area is growing quite quickly. At the same time, I read an article that the Bay Area has more billionaires than any other city by far in this country. We have more billionaires in this city than anywhere else in the country. And our homeless population is increasing. The haves and the have-nots, that feudal system, is just getting wider and bigger. Do we feel it in our own lives, the impact of reading this? And why we have so many billionaires is because of technology, and technology is overtaking our life. Are you experiencing overwhelm from technology? Are any of you having an experience like I've been recognizing this exhaustion that I feel in terms of communication, and because I feel like I have half communications with a lot of people. Like I start communications and I never finish them because I have so many, like all of us. So there's text messages coming at me. I have 2 different emails. I have so many email addresses coming at me. People send me messages through Facebook and get in conversations with me through Facebook Messenger, Instagram Messenger. I just realized, like, I didn't respond to them. I got a phone call 3 weeks ago, and it just dawned on me I didn't respond to it. But there's so many places to look, and there's so many places to seek. It's not just coming from one avenue now, and I'm trying to keep track all. And now, because we have global connection, it's coming not just from Livermore, or it's just coming from all over. I was just having this whole communication with a woman who's working on abortion issues in Canada, and it's unending, and how to prioritize and how to stay consistent and follow through, because like I said, I have a lot. Are you all experiencing that? It's just overwhelming, constant stimulation. So a lot of that stimulation is a lot of negative news, but we don't have a lot of time, or at least I experience not always having a lot of time to take it all in, because I'm taking in all this other stuff and my mind's going all the time. And then we have our teens, well, I think we all are having trouble with addiction with technology, but I definitely see it as I talk with parents with our teens, just always on technology, not being able to let go of it. And I remember my brother years ago saying that was going to be a worse addiction than any drug could ever give us, because, and what does that do? We don't have to deal with the world. We're just sort of dealing with our own social media, sort of keep our head down, and I don't really take in what's happening in this world. And why would I want to take it in? Because it's so completely overwhelming. And right now, in our milieu, the collective unconsciousness, a lot of it seems overwhelmingly negative. Sometimes I think we go through pendulum swings and we all feel sort of generally positive about where the world is going. I think there's this where no matter where we land, there's a sense of fear that's just everywhere. And then we go to our own individual self. What's going on with us individually? How are we feeling just about being human? I was on Thursday, we have a Thursday group that meets in the afternoon, and we've been meeting, this is our third year, so I feel very safe and comfortable with this group of people. And I was sharing, and I recognized as I was sharing that I was feeling pretty negative about my own humanity. Not my spirituality, but my own humanity. And I didn't even know I was feeling it. Do you ever have experienced that? That you don't know that you're thinking something until you're sort of saying it out loud? And I'm like, ooh, I didn't know I was feeling so down about my humanity. I just don't particularly care for myself as a human being right now. And it wasn't any one particular thing, or I couldn't figure out where it was coming from. I just saw it. So then I had to process that. What do we do with if it's coming internally, externally, everywhere we turn? How do we start with where we are? How do we be fully present in the moment if the present moment feels overwhelmingly harsh or like it's just not going anywhere good? And that's the end of my talk. I believe one of the most important things happening right now is spiritual community. And especially spiritual communities like this that allow for diversity, that allow for everyone to find and be their unique self, and that we are here to support each and every one of us in being our unique self, that we're not demanding that we all look the same. I really love that little phrase, oneness is not sameness, because that is a constriction to our soul. And so we're learning how we can have diversity, we can have different ways of being, and love each other deeply and profoundly within community. And I believe that's one of the great gifts of a Sunday service, is just through music, through the collective consciousness, because we have so much collective consciousness coming at us, telling us different things, to be in that collective consciousness that says, no, beyond all the appearances, there is this infinite good. All will be well. St. Julian of Norwich used to have these visions, and in the vision she kept being told, all will be well. And she'd say, what about all the people who are doing bad things? It's all going to be well. Just basically chill out. It's all going to work out. But that's coming from the divine, and we know that. We know the divine is greater than anything that's happening in this human world. And so we come here to remember, to remember, to remember. Right now in this moment is the divine presence, and it is always all good no matter what the appearance is. And we reconnect with it. We reconnect it. The energy in the room helps us to reconnect inwardly. We need this collective energy. We need our small groups and classes and all the different things that we do as a community, whether it's during the week or here on a Sunday service, to remember who and what we are. I wouldn't have known that I was feeling negatively about myself had I not felt safe in that small group where I could just I wasn't editing myself. I wasn't trying to be anything other than what I was, and that negativity could come out towards myself, not towards other people. Spiritual community, when we really are present, will allow that authentic feelings to be seen and known because we feel safe. Safety is such an important thing to feel, although there's times when we feel unsafe in a community because our stuff comes up. But it's our stuff to be healed. The other really important thing is that even as our communities support us, that we need to do our own work. We need to stop and slow down. There is so much coming at us that if we do not nurture ourselves, we can participate as much as we are called externally, and we are needed. But if we're not slowing down and listening to that presence within us, we will just be contributing to the fear. We'll be out there saying, no, this can't happen because they're wrong, and we'll be coming from all this agitation and fear, and it's just more fear. Fear with different forms, fear with different names, but it's a lot of fear. We want to come from a place of peace, and we can't get to that place if we don't slow down in our own life every day. Stop, listen, be in the silence. How much are you cultivating the silence in your everyday life? We already know how much we have to do. We already know, because it's at us all the time. The tasks at work, our children, our family needs, our community needs, our world and citizenship needs. We need to take care of our own interior soul. It needs nurturing, and that takes time. I remember I took a class on child development in college, and he was ranting against this whole idea that parents didn't need to spend a lot of time with their kids. It was just quality time, so just a half an hour was good. He said, no, kids need time. It's not just about quality. That's important, but it's also about quantity. And if we look at our own souls, how much quantity of time do we give to our own healing and revealing of the divine presence within? How much time and the stillness, that silence is going to reveal things that no amount of thinking could ever get me to. There's a stillness that's going to heal on a level and dimension that nothing else can reach. Nothing worldly is going to reach that. The only thing that's going to reach that is we go deep below the surface and feel into and allow this extraordinary presence to heal us. After the conversation on Thursday, I started to feel integrated. It took me actually a day to even take it in. Oh yeah, I guess I was being pretty negative. I wonder what that was all about. And I'm not feeling very good right now. Wow. So it took me a day just to take that in. And then on Saturday morning, I went to Starbucks. I am an adventurer. I went to a different Starbucks. Wanted to stretch my boundaries. But I love going really early in the morning, around 5:30 or 6. Nobody's there. It's quiet. And I bring a stack of books, plus my journal. And I start with my books because they get me into the right place. That's another thing I want to point out. When we go into the silence, it's not just going into the silence. We pray as we're going into the silence, because this collective unconsciousness is everywhere. And if we just shut our eyes, we're just open vehicles for all the negativity to pour through us and the fear and all the stuff surrounding us. So the first thing we do is pray and establish us in the one power and the one presence that is always all good, all loving, all knowing. Right? We establish that in consciousness, and then we go into the stillness, knowing that it's only from there that we are listening and opening our heart, body, mind, and soul. So I'm reading these books, and I read about a page or two in each of the different books. And a lot of these books I really like and resonate with. There's one book I've been working on. I've talked about it before, and it's a challenge for me. It's Julian of Norwich, and she has all these revelations, but she's also very Catholic in her interpretations, and so I don't feel comfortable often with her interpretations, and I feel the eternal truth and also the limited human interpretations of it. And so I feel constricted. I'm like, why does Spirit want me to read this? So I'm reading her and some other books, and I'm noticing they're all sort of saying the same thing. I'm beginning to see the connection. Then I open my journal. And by the way, it's very specific. This isn't general principles. It's all good. It was very specific. So then I open my journal, and I always start with the way I started the talk today, with what's wrong. Because I feel like if everything's already good, I don't have to worry about that. That's taken care of. My place of healing is always what's wrong? Where's a place of healing? Where's a place of growth? Where's a place I can stretch in this moment? So I start with that. So because I was conscious that I was feeling sort of negative about my humanity, that's where I started. And as I'm writing, I suddenly am conscious that, oh my gosh, I already had answered prayer. I already had the answer to this. I got it from the reading. I didn't make the connection until I started writing about it. And the shift happened in the midst of the pain, in the midst of the sadness, in the midst of the not enoughness. We say prayer is answered before it was even asked. And I know we've all had that experience, and this was just another experience of, wow, I read these books, and I'm reading, it's not like I'm planning what I'm reading, I'm just reading these different pages, were exactly, specifically, in detail, healing a part of me that I wasn't even fully conscious of what needed to be healed until I started journaling. It had already answered, Spirit had already answered, and what I am constantly reminded of is how much Spirit tailors our individual experiences to the detail, very specifically. But so many of us miss it because we're so busy, because we're not taking time to just be still and listen. And I know, because I've heard this in classes all the time, really listen, and suddenly you realize maybe a book that you don't know why you're reading is given to you to read. A conversation happens, or as you're journaling, a new insight happens. Everything is responding when we really are listening from a deep place. There's a lot of things on different levels, and the quieter and quieter we go, the deeper and more profound that healing is, and it starts touching every area, because Spirit is in every area of our life. So it was dealing with one specific area that actually ended up being much bigger, and we're left with awe. And this becomes the healing for our own individual lives. Then there becomes the problem, or seeming problem or challenge. Okay, great. I'm having these wonderful, beautiful healings. I'm taking time to be really still and silent and allowing the divine presence, because I know you all are, right? You're spending a lot of time in the silence every day, slowing down, nurturing yourselves. All right, starting today you are. As we do our own work, the question becomes, all right, what about all these problems? What about climate change? What about what's happening in our country? What about what's happening in the Bay Area? There's still all these overwhelming problems. It's great that I'm healed. I'm healing. It's great that I'm finding freedom. I'm finding heaven on earth. Yay for me. What about all these other people who are suffering? Screw them. No, I'm kidding. No. What I truly and genuinely believe, we are one with all planet. Like I say, our own journeys are absolutely tailored and are specific to each of us. So as we continue to listen, our own individual calling to be of service, because I do believe we are here to be of service, to help one another, to support one another, will get more and more clear. That specific journey that we are called to take. And we cannot take somebody else's journey even though it looks cooler. We can only take our journey. As many of you know, I have two teachers that I love, Eastern teachers, Paramahansa Yogananda and Shunryu Suzuki. And this group on Thursday is a Yogananda group, and we've been reading his biography, or a biography about him, not his autobiography. And they really focus more on the business aspect, all this, and it just sounds so depressing. I mean, he's just always worrying about money, and he's traveling all over the country, and he meets the president. I mean, he's really selling himself in a way like we see marketers do, and that caused some problems, but he really wanted to get the word out there. He was, after Vivekananda, he was the second Hindu that came here, and he really wanted to bring a positive understanding of what Hinduism had to teach. And so he's working as hard as anyone I've seen to get his message out there, start all these temples everywhere. And so many people know about Yogananda. So many people have been visited from Yogananda on the other side of the veil who don't necessarily become his students, but they're touched by that spirit. He's still as much at work on the other side of the veil as he was when he was here. And then I look at Shunryu Suzuki, very different. He came to America, landed in Haight-Ashbury in the mid-'60s, and it was already a Japanese temple, and so he took that on, the Zen Center. And he really stuck to this one area. He didn't go around traveling the country. He wasn't trying to start Zen centers all over the United States. He wasn't giving big public talks. Totally different style. Very quiet. In fact, talked about Buddhism very rarely, just really wanted to get people meditating. He did start a monastery, the first Zen monastery in the States, here in the Bay Area. So basically the Zen center and the monastery. And that's what he did in his time here. They were both serving the world exactly as they were supposed to serve. If someone had said, oh no, Shunru, you're not doing enough. You're not enough just as you are. You got to go be selling this. That would have been something from the external to the external, and him responding to something that wasn't coming from within, and it would not have been authentic, and it would have been a disaster. Yogananda could not have stayed in one place if you counted. He just, there was this drive, this it's in all the pages, just this, ever since he was a kid, he was always trying to get everybody meditating. Everywhere he went, his schoolmates, they thought he was crazy. He was just always getting, come on, we're going to go meditate. You got to do this. That's just his personality. I say that because what I feel in this world today is there's so much intensity, and what I feel is so much intensity to take sides. If you're a spiritual teacher, you have to take this side, and you have to start fighting for justice, and I'm for justice. I just want to be really clear about that. For systemic changes in our justice system, because they are truly horrible things happening. But we have the homeless, and we have people, the amount of suffering and climate change, and what area am I going to choose? What am I supposed to do? And what I recognize is nobody can tell us what our area of service is except for that deep presence within us, because when I'm listening from that place, I'm coming from a place of peace. I'm not coming from a place of angst. I'm not coming from a place of, oh no, if this doesn't change, we're not enough. We heard in the reading today how there is this ever-presentness within all of us that this moment is never not enough, that we always want something better. And when we're not in tune with that, we carry that into everything we're trying to fix out there. It's never enough. As my mother has always been involved in causes, the church I was raised in was always involved in causes. And the thing that I recognize is causes will never end. Well, maybe we will get to heaven on earth, but I think we have a while to get there. But the people who were driving these causes often were not at peace within themselves. And so it's not that I'm against that. I'm absolutely for that. Whatever your thing is externally, yes. I have a brother who that's his whole life. Yes, and it's awesome, and he's making amazing changes, and he's doing great things. And we have to do the work within us. We have to become those places of peace, of harmony and healing, and the only way we do that is to deal with our own darkness. How can we deal with the darkness out there if we're not dealing with the darkness within? In that beautiful reading today, Pema Chodron was saying, that's fearful Buddha, or jealous Buddha, or heartburn Buddha. What if we just said, that's fearful divine love? That's jealous divine love. Doesn't that feel a little uncomfortable? Strange, divine love isn't jealous. Divine love isn't angry. Divine love isn't fearful. We can say divine love is happy. We can say divine love is beautiful. But I believe with my whole heart, body, and soul that until we can bring divine love into the depth of our sorrow, into the depth of our fear, into the depth of our own interior pain, in the depth of our own interior, it's not enough. Right now, as I'm speaking, is this talk enough? Am I saying the right things? Am I doing the right things? We bring divine love into all of that. We don't shut off and say, I hope I'm doing the right thing, or I'm not going to pretend, but allow the divine love to feel that fear, to feel that angst, and do its healing work in the midst of the darkness. We have to bring divine love into all aspects of our darkness. Divine love does feel anger. Divine love can feel fear. Divine love can feel it all because divine love is it all, behind all of it. But that's just theory until we take the time. So my invitation in this wonderful, the Start Where You Are comes from Pema Chodron's book, Start Where You Are. And her work is all about compassion, and we've been in a month of compassion, is don't shut down. There's so many reasons in this world to shut down. There's so much pain. If we just listen and pay attention, we feel it. Don't shut down. Allow ourselves to feel it. Allow the divine love within us to heal it within ourselves day after day. This is not a one-time event. This is a daily practice. Feel into the pain. Allow it its full sway, because the more we recognize that it can be that healing agency within our own being, we can step out into the world and absolutely trust that divine love will be the healing agency for our planet, for our country, for the Bay Area, for our communities. Start where we are. And that's where the healing is happening, even now. Let's pray. And so we anchor into this present moment. And we feel into where we are right now. We allow ourselves to become fully conscious of where we are emotionally, physically, what's going on in our body, what's going in our thoughts. Right in this moment, life can only be lived in the present moment, as Thich Nhat Hanh says. And we recognize that in this present moment, beyond all form, beyond all thinking, beyond all emotions, beyond all physical experiences, there is this infinite, invisible, divine presence. This presence is included in all life, but is beyond all of it. It is absolutely free. It is always already infinite bliss. It is always already infinite intelligence, infinite clarity, infinite peace, infinite love, infinite beauty, infinite harmony. It is always the good where there is no opposite. It is always that which has no conflict. It is already fully present and harmonious in, through, and as itself all of the time. It is birthless and it is deathless. It is always already. And how grateful I am to know that it is always already who and what we are in this very moment. And so we allow that awareness to be breathed into our heart, into our body, into our thoughts, into our soulful vibration. One power, one presence, unlimited good. And that is who we really are, and that is who we will always be. Nothing can ever hurt, harm, or endanger this love that we are, this clarity that we are, this power that we are, this peace that we are. We are not making it happen. We are not fixing it. We don't need to control it. It simply already is. And today, in this moment, collectively, we are together basking in the isness of pure presence, of pure beingness. And when we allow ourselves to feel it, we know that all is well right now. And as we allow this awareness to sink into every atom and cell of our being, we also allow those places that feel unlike love, that feel unlike peace, that feel unlike joy within our body, within our emotional life, within our physical life. And we make it welcome. We make those things that we think are opposite, and we make it welcome in our awareness right here and right now. We reject nothing. We reject nothing. We open our heart to all of it, to all of what we are experiencing in this moment. We make it welcome. We open our heart wider and wider and wider and wider. It is free. It is powerful. It is unafraid. And it is unafraid to accept all that which we may be afraid of. Our fears, our anger, our sadness, our jealousy, our pain. It's right there. It's right here in this moment. It's right here in this moment. And as we hold this for our own individual lives, we hold this for each of our sisters and brothers in our community here and now. That this love is able to accept everything about who and what we are, in our imperfection as well as our perfection. And as we hold this for each other, we hold this for everything that's unfolding in the Bay Area. As we feel all the possible fears and lack and limitation, we hold that behind all of it is the enoughness, the purity, the wholeness of God, and that it is in the midst of the pain and the suffering, and it is more powerful and transmuting this pain even now because we are seeing it and holding it and feeling it this way. And as we feel this for the Bay Area, we feel this for our country and all of the pain and agony our country is and the divisiveness, that in the midst of that divisiveness there is a wholeness, there is a love, there is a grace that is even now fully present, and we are conscious of that love in the midst of the pain. And even as we feel this for our own country, feel this for the entire planet, as we feel the entire planet going through pain and suffering as an entity, this planet and all of its sentient life forms. And in the midst of that, this divine love continues to say, all will be well, all is well. It doesn't deny the pain. We feel into the pain, into the fear, into the suffering of the planet, and in the midst of that, this divine love fully is completely being itself. We allow this healing energy on every level of our being. We are the cosmic consciousness in form, in vibrational frequency right now, in this community right here and right now, this collective energy that we are stating and right now is participating in our own individual healing and in the global healing. Simply through our recognition of what is real and opening our heart and allowing that which is real to pour through us with every breath and every space in between every breath. The divine is right here and right now, and all is well. In deep abiding gratitude, we just let this word be, knowing that before this prayer was ever spoken, it has already been done. And with that awareness, we joyfully and peacefully say, and so it is. Amen.